copy of this, you can get it.
Cool.
But without further ado, Wallace, you have the floor.
All right. So first, let me say hello, and I appreciate y'all joining the call. It shows a lot to me that you all are invested in your future. Sometimes just taking the time to listen to someone who's been there and done that, I mean, you can learn a lot from that conversation. So you all have taken big steps today. I'm not saying I have all the answers, not my own horn, but I mean, you all are invested in your future. So start off with my background. I'm a Fayetteville, Arkansas native, so I grew up in Razorback country. I know you all didn't go to Arkansas, and by any means, that doesn't really matter to me. I support you in all your endeavors and what you do. So I ran 21.2 in high school. I ran 49 in the 400. I long jump 24.10, triple jump 45 feet, high jump 6'8". So I mean, I was decent at all the events, but I thought I was really gonna go play football. Track and field. My dad ran track, so some of my first memories are from track and field. He made a world championship team, a Pan Am team. He never made an Olympic game. So I grew up watching track practices and hearing and seeing the Razorbacks. So that was one of my lifelong dreams. The first thing I'll say to you all was I actually was a walk-on at the University of Arkansas. So my freshman year, regardless of my marks, didn't earn me a scholarship. And I actually thought I had a football scholarship. So last minute, I decided to run track. My freshman year, I ran 2012 in the 200. I ran 10.3 in the 100. I didn't run any other events except for relays. I ended up winning the national championship my freshman year outdoors, 20.12, to beat Tyson Gay and a few other great names. So that earned me a full scholarship. The life lesson for me there was, through hard work, anything is possible. A lot of those guys would slack off at practice on a daily basis, and they'd get on to me because every day I came to practice ready to work hard. And they asked me, why you work so hard? And I remember telling them, well, at the end of the day, you all have your scholarship. I have to earn mine. So throughout my whole story, throughout my whole career, my mantra has always been, I'm going to outwork the best man. I'm going to outwork the next man to me. I'm going to outwork any and everybody. I don't care if you take steroids. I don't care what you do. There's nothing that you can do, and there's nothing that you'll be able to say. At the end of the day, I'll be able to say I outworked you. So regardless of the result, I outworked you. So that's one thing I want to leave you all with today. Secondly, throughout my story, my sophomore year, I ended up breaking the collegiate record. I earned my scholarship, broke the collegiate record indoors and won nationals. And then I also won nationals outdoors as well. So I ran 20.10 indoors, and I know you all see that on a regular basis now, but when I was running, you didn't see stuff like that. Times do change. My first outdoor meet, and this will be another lesson I'll leave you all with, is always believe in yourself. So my brother, I was at Mount Sac, the relays, and before my first race, I grabbed my brother who also ran track. He ran the 400 hurdles, and I asked him, now mind you, back when I was younger, I might have been a little bit cocky and a little bit arrogant. I had to grow up a little bit, so bear with me. But what I'll tell you is before the first time I ran 19, I already knew I was going to do it. There wasn't a doubt in my mind. This goes back into believing into yourself. So I grabbed my brother and I said, brother, take a knee. I said, will you pray with me? And he said, yeah, come on. And I remember telling him, and if I called him right now, he'd tell you the same story. I said, dear Lord, please let what I'm about to do be win legal. Amen. And he stood up and he looked at me like, what in the, excuse my language. He's like, what the hell did you just say? He's like, man, God's going to punish you for that. I was like, well, I don't know why he's going to punish me because he gave me the talent. I'm about to go use it. So I ran 1997. It was 1.6 win. I beat Alan Johnson. I don't know if you all know who that is. Leonard Scott. Justin Gatlin was there. It was all these big names of people that I wasn't supposed to beat. To me, it didn't make a difference who was in that race. I came to do a job, and I got it done. So from there, the sky was the limit. I didn't lose too many races that year. The only person I really lost to was Tyson Gay, my teammate. I ended up making my first world championship team and getting a silver medal. Now, mind you, if you don't know me or don't know anything about my story, it seemed like everything just fell in line. But I promise you, Lance Brumman was my coach, and I know he trains Noah Lyles right now. And we have this conversation. If you go and ask him who works harder, Noah or Wallace, I promise you he's going to say me. Now, he might say Noah's more talented, but he's going to say Wallace worked harder. So at the end of the day, no matter what you want to do, no matter what your goals are, if you're not willing to make sacrifices to get that done, and you're really just wasting time. Now, a lot of you all probably put in the work when you get to the track, put in the work whenever you get to the weight room, but that's not the only two places where you get better. Tendencies and habits are built throughout life. I mean, waking up and making your bed, going to class on time. Going to rehab. These are the small things that set you, on the right track to accomplish goals lifelong. So at the end of the day, if you're slacking on those, it's only going to be a matter of time before you start slacking in your sport. Because you're teaching yourself on a daily basis what you want to do and how you want to do it. So if you're slacking off there, I promise you it's going to carry over to your sport. And I guarantee you, if I ask almost all of you on this call right now who's going pro, I would bet that most of you all say you're either going to go pro, you don't want a real job, maybe you want to be an agent, or maybe some of you all, they're just doing this to pass the time. And by all means, that's fine. Everybody won't go pro. And especially during the times right now, it's going to be really hard. We'll get to that later. So the rest of my story, so 2008, I made my first Olympic team. I tried to get greedy and run the 100 and the 200. I tore my meniscus and fractured my knee. So I fractured a bone in my knee. I didn't think I was going to be able to run during the games, but once again, the work hard method. So I got to the games. It was about a month and a half before the game started. I worked with the team doctors every day. They gave me a cortisone shot. They drained my knee. I went to rehab on rehab on rehab. And if you actually see the Olympic book or the roster, the team pictures, I'm not in any of it. And the doctor who was working with me, the PT actually therapist who was working with me, we're not in any of the pictures or anything. We were in rehab. Like I stayed there literally from 7 a.m. I think the only time I wasn't in rehab was probably for about an hour to go get something to eat. So while everybody else was practicing and doing all these other things, I was rehabbing. So at the end of the day, I ended up finishing the race behind Usain Bolt. I'm pretty sure you guys know who that is. It's one of my close friends. And for the record, I've beat him like a handful of times. We'll call it more than a handful. Before he went Super Saiyan and decided he wanted to turn into the last Dragon Ball Z boss or something. But I finished third in the race, but I ended up getting disqualified for stepping on the line. And that was a big deal for me. I feel like I've worked so hard and sacrificed so much. And at the end of the day, sometimes it doesn't matter how much you want something. It doesn't matter how much you sacrifice. You aren't supposed to get it right then. So that did a lot for me in my career. Being disqualified, my mom was there. It was very traumatic for me. I was very sad, but at the end of the day, that made me who I am today. So rather than going home and being mad about it and crying about it, I gave myself 24 hours. I was teed off. I was upset. But after that, I was go home and work again. The next year, I went to Berlin and I finished third. I ran 1985, fastest third place finish in world champ history. And it wasn't an Olympic medal, but it was still a medal at a major championship. 2010, I ended up being world number one. I won U.S. championships. I won the Diamond League, Continental Cup. I won every title that you could win. And once again, 2011, I started feeling myself. I can tell you right now, track and field is very lucrative if you do this correctly. So I haven't really disclosed this before, but 2010, I made roughly $856,000 after tax. So can you make money in track and field? You're dang right. Does it matter what event you are in? Honestly, yes. But if you're doing great and you're marketable, remember, track and field, although we see it as a sport, is a form of entertainment. So you got to be entertaining. But at the same time, you have to be respectful. So if you do it the right way, you make a lot of appearance fees, you make a lot of money in the circuit, and you can make a lot of money from your contracts and bonuses. So I don't deter anyone from trying to go professional, but understand times are different now than they were then. So I made it. All that money, I took my family on vacation. I went to Vegas with Bolt for like a week with my family. I showed out in 2011. It showed. I was doing everything wrong. I ended up getting hurt and not making out the first round of world championships. I had to move. Nike was my sponsor. They asked me to move in 2012. They said, you're not focused there. So I moved to Dallas, Texas. I ended up getting fourth place at the Olympic Games. Not quite working hard. 1990 fastest fourth place finish in Olympic history. Didn't step on the line though. So honestly, for me, although I got a medal in 2008 and got disqualified, 2012 was much more gratifying. I actually had a place in the record books. I was actually in the team picture, and it was just a better experience for me. Although fourth place finishes The worst. It is the worst. I'm almost certain you all have heard that before, but it's the worst place that you can finish. 2013 made world champs, 2015 made world champs, 2017 was an alternate, so 2018, nothing's really happened. In 2020, here we are today. So long story short, about me, I've gotten where I am today through hard work, through dedication, and honestly believing in myself. And at the end of the day, I put in more work than I feel like that most people have. You don't see people with careers or the longevity I've had in my career. And I'm not saying that to brag on myself, but I'm just letting you all know. If you all do things right, at the end of the day, the sky's the limit. But I mean, I never had alcohol until I was 27, never smoked, nothing like that. I also haven't been to any family reunions since I've been professional. I haven't got to spend much time with my family, but those are the sacrifices I had to make in order to be where I want to be. Now times are a little bit different. You can see a lot of people right now, they go and drink and they party on the circuit, but you see them, they're successful, but for how long? I mean, you have family time and you can go spend time with your family, but traveling is not really good. It's not really productive to someone who's trying to go out and achieve these things. Traveling is really hard on your body. These are things that you really have to find out. I mean, you have to find out what you can deal with, what makes you tick, and what makes you work. So at the end of the day, would I suggest it? Not at all. Can you be successful by doing that? I mean, you can, but once again, how long do you want to be in the sport? For me, I wanted to be in the sport as long as I could and make as much money as possible. That way, when I retire, I don't need to work. I mean, especially, and that's a whole nother topic, what you do with your money. You live right. It's really easy to do things and have a good time and run fast and jump far and throw far whenever things are going well. You don't have to worry about finances. But when you're struggling, and that's always in the back of your mind, as soon as you step to that line, as soon as you step on that runway, in the back of your mind, you're going to be thinking, man, if I can just do this, I can make this. That's the last thing you want in your mind. That's not what you're supposed to be thinking at that moment. And honestly, if you're thinking about anything other than executing when the time comes, then you're probably doing it wrong. Now, once again, more than one way to skin a cat. Maybe you all can do that. Maybe you can handle it. It's all about finding what makes you tick and what makes you work. So that might be something that you can handle. But for me, it wasn't my strong suit. I mean, I can sit here and tell you all countless stories and give you countless life lessons. But I'm going to pause really quick before I get going again and see if anybody has any questions on anything I just went over so far. Silence means no, so I'll continue to go if that's all right.
You got any questions?
No. I don't think I have any.
All right, good deal.
We'll get some. I'm gonna get some to you at the end.
All good. All right, so for right now, you all are in college, and at the end of the day, I'll go back to my college career. So everybody has this mindset of we're going pro. What exactly does it mean to go pro? Because technically, if you're in high school and you don't go to college, you're pro. So, and then also what country you compete for kind of determines. That's another factor in going pro. If you all go pro, you all know you know SAC, right? Like y'all have SAC at your school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we have AAC, so Athletes Advisory Committee. So it's similar to your players union whenever you go professional. So that's one thing that I would say. If you all, before you go pro, I'll reach out to that group because we have a lot of information for you. So what I'll say is whenever I was in college, my freshman year, I didn't care about going pro. I just wanted to win. It didn't matter if it was 100 to a 400. I just wanted to win. But as you start to get older, I'm sure you all know I'm not running a 4x4. Or, I'm not running the 400. I'm not doing a lot of those things that you do whenever you're in college make you who you are whenever you go professional. So if you start getting away from a lot of those things, you're going to see some of your results start to get away from where they used to be. And at the end of the day, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do so you can do the things that you want to. So as far as going pro, I had to go through the whole process of finding an agent. That was super stressful. I had to do that during my sophomore year. That's when I turned pro. From SECs until about nationals. Before the national meet, my coach said, cut it off. You need to have an agent decided on by this time. And when we get to nationals, the only thing I want you focusing on is nationals. I sat down with 20 or 30 agents, and they all came in. They all sounded alike. Honestly, it didn't really make a difference to me, but my mom had a gut feeling with one agent and we went with him. That's going to be a big decision. That scenario is similar to choosing a school, but they don't necessarily court you as well as they do when you're going to age. College is a way better system. You get to go to all these campuses and go on visits. It's not like that when you go pro system. I know you all probably have looked at all these track meets overseas and thought to yourself, man, that's all they're jumping? I can jump that. Oh, that's all they're running? Man, I can run that. That's easy. Let me tell you right now, my first time going out the country, I went to London, England. Now, times are a little bit different. Like I said, you all have a lot more access to social media, and like we had to buy burner phones, and it was horrible. But I went through customs, and they make you fill out a piece of paper. Where are you going? Where are you staying? How long are you going to be here? If you're an athlete, how much money are you making? How are you getting paid? I didn't know any of that. Let's just say I got detained in customs in London for about 8 hours. It was horrible. It was cold. I didn't have any clothes. I smelled like jet lag in airplanes. They gave me some finger foods on the airplane. I sat in the back next to 60 people. It was horrible. You don't go through that whenever you're in college. So finally I got out. I got probably about 7 hours of sleep. I had to wake up the next day and go and compete. Now, mind you, I ran fast, but that's not necessarily productive to trying to run your best. Showing up the day before a meet, not getting much sleep, not being able to shake out. There's a whole lot that goes into being pro. And if you're not in tune with your coach, you don't have your routine down, or even if you have a routine and you're not able to kind of shift and maneuver well with things that are thrown at you, if you can't handle that, if you're not mentally tough, man, life's going to be hard for you as a pro. And that's where you make your money. And at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like it, but if you go to one Diamond League meet or you go to one big meet and you don't do well, I'm going to tell you right now, all the meet directors have conversations. They're all buddy-buddy. If you go there and do bad in this meet, that's going to affect how much money you make in the next meet, your lane or your draw in the next meet, or you just might not get in the meets. People see that. So every time you step on the track, people are expecting you to go out there and perform at the best of your ability. And that's a hard expectation. I mean, even in college, when you go to nationals, you all know, you peak up for nationals, you have to do well there. You go to SECs, you have to do well there. Or not SEC, well, you are in the SEC, sorry, conference. My bad. You go to conference, you have to do well. Those are two meets that you know you have to be dialed in for. Regionals as well, where every time you step on the track as a pro, people are looking for you to break a world record. And every time you step on the track, imagine every time you go somewhere, everyone is elite. So what are you going to do when everyone is at the same talent level? How are you going to beat those people? I mean, that's where discipline comes in. That's where execution comes in. That's where, honestly, confidence comes in. And for me, I gained confidence by knowing I did everything right, by busting my butt at practice, making sure I didn't miss any workouts and doing all the small things that I knew I was supposed to do. So I was able to go out and compete to the best of my ability. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't have bad meets, but at the end of the day, I was confident and almost arrogant, borderline. Like, okay, I was over the line. To know, if you beat me this time, I'm going to bust your butt next time. So there's not going to be too many L's I'm going to take this year. And that's the confidence and the swagger that I carried myself with. And that's something that you are going to have to learn yourself, and that's really hard. At the end of the day, if you go into a meet, what are you going to do if you go into a 100-meter dash with Usain Bolt? God dang, I know I can't beat him. The moment you say that, you shouldn't even be in that race anymore. Anybody who competes with you has to beat you on that day. And if you compete 100 days in a row, they got to beat you 100 days in a row. And if you can't think like that, it's going to be real tough for you to be a pro. If you want a small meet, a tune-up meet to where you can go work on some stuff, you need to talk to your coach and talk to your agent, figure that stuff out. And at the end of the day, they can find you somewhere small where you can go. But you don't need to go somewhere where somebody's paying you money to figure things out. If you do that too many times, you're not going to be invited to a lot of places, especially when you go to championships. So that's how a lot of that works. Once again, any questions really quick? I don't mean to switch two topics a lot, but I don't know how much time I have. I don't imagine.
Yeah, you got plenty.
Me, I have.
What you got?
Okay, question. Okay, first of all, hey, how do you handle the big stage stress? Like when you're going up against not only the world's greatest, but the best in history?
Well, I mean, during the time, you have to think. That's a great question. So what I'll say to you, I've been racing boats since I was 19 years old. That's honestly that's one of my best friends. So when I raced him, I never really thought about that. I mean, that's easy for me to say. I've been doing it so long, I'm accustomed to it. Like I beat him in races, he's beat me. it is what it is. So I'll tell y'all a story about that later. But you kind of have to find ways that you know you can relax your mind. If you think about it, if you're warming up for a competition and you're going hard, and you get to the competition, now all of a sudden you're burnt out. That's probably not productive to you. Well, mentally it's the same thing. I go through mental reps. If I overthink things, overanalyze things, if I start putting too much pressure on myself, that's not really productive to me going out and do well. I have to trust that I've done everything that I'm supposed to be doing and know that I can execute. That's what practice is for. So meets are for competition and practice is for just that, fixing things and practicing. So when you get to the meet, so for me, before a race, I'll go do my shakeout in the morning, I'll eat breakfast, I'll come back, I'll lay down for a little bit, and I just start watching track videos. So, you know, I'll look at things. And so one thing I look at, I'll go watch like my last race I ran. I'll stop the clock when I'm close to the finish line. So my PR is 1965. I would stop the clock at 19.3 and see how far I am away from the clock to get to 19.3. And at the end of the day, I know if I can execute and do things perfectly, I can obtain that. So it's about going out that day and giving everything you have for that day. Now, some days you think about it, it's rounds, you might be tired at the end. You might not have a 19.3 or a 19.6 race in your leg. You might not have a big jump in your legs, but you got to go out there and give everything and get everything out of yourself that you have that day. So sometimes it's all about, you know, getting the best out of yourself. Because if you start trying to overachieve or obtain things, you're not going to do anything but hurt yourself. You start getting tense and you start trying to do too much. So we say it's controlled aggression. So I need to go out there and give it my all, but I need to be relaxed at the same. So find a routine, find something that you can do that makes you relax, find the mental state that makes you competitive. For you, what would be the best mindset that you can have? Is it angry? Is it happy? Is it sad, scared? Fear is not necessarily a bad thing. Without fear, you can't be courageous, you can't be brave. So at the end of the day, if you're not those things, then what are you? Sometimes that nervous energy is really good for you to harness and make sure that you're doing things right. So find a routine, go through all your workouts, make sure you're eating right, just do everything right. When you get there, you've done everything that you're supposed to do to get there, and eventually you'll find a way to relax and actually just go out there and compete. As far as the world stage on the other end, I've seen many people do it wrong. 2012, and I typically don't use names, but it is what it is, whatever. But Isaiah Young was in the first round with Usain Bolt, and he was freaking out. Spazzing. I thought it was hilarious. Oh, my God. I race Bolt. Oh, God. Oh, God. I'm like, dang, are they going to kill you if you lose the race? He's like, what? I was like, are they going to kill you if you lose this race? No. Do you still make it to the next round if you get second? Yeah. I said, so what are you nervous for? Who else is in the race? He's like, I don't know, some guy who's ran 21 seconds. I was like, you scared of somebody who's ran 21? No, I just feel like I have to win every race. I was like, dude, they give out 3 medals. I don't know what kind of shape you're in right now, but how about you just make it to the next round? And then once you get there, make it to the next round. And once you're in the finals, I promise you, once you get to the finals, that'll be the most relaxed you've been at any championship. So I was like, dude, just go have fun. That wasn't a really good pep talk for him. It didn't work for him. He was still freaked out, but I did my best. So at the end of the day, if you get too nervous, that just showed me if you get too nervous and too focused on somebody else's performance, you're not focusing on yours. So you really got to focus on you, and you really need to execute. That's something that you need to work on with your coach, whether it be practicing that at smaller meets or in practice, your coach has competition days where y'all go out and work on things, or maybe you're watching video a lot, but find things that work for you and get dialed in. That's the best thing that you can do for yourself.
It sounds like 2 things you can narrow it down to. One is develop a routine, so you can have that comfortability, and then the second is on the tip of my tongue. The second is just to relax in general. I don't know what you contribute that to, whether it be comfortability or whether it be belief in self and confidence.
There's a lot of things that you can contribute to, and that you just said that, and it brings up a good point for me. So you all have a lot of structure in college. and I know what I'm saying right now might not register right now because you all have so much structure. Yeah, I know you can go to the training room. You probably have a cafeteria. You all have study hall. Your coach is at practice. So how many of you all have competed in college and your coach wasn't there? Has anybody done that yet?
At U20, that was it.
Yeah.
So what was that feeling like? Because when you go pro, I promise you, there's only going to be probably 4 or 5 times in a year where your coach is actually there. So your championships, at the games or world champs, and maybe at some home meets if you compete at your home stadium. So what was that like at U20s?
It was hard trusting another coach because I'm so used to my coach saying, okay, T, this is what we need to do. But then it was like, okay, I need my coach. I'm stressed out here in a different country from me. It was a lot of stress, honestly. It was hard to relax.
And that's a really good point. So a lot of people haven't experienced that yet, but I'm glad that you got to go through that early. Actually, what U20s? When did you compete in U20s?
Last year, I think I remember you.
I about to say where, in Mexico or somewhere?
We went to Costa Rica.
Okay, I was there, so
Mhm.
I get it. Sorry, Coach. If you would have told me, I would have helped her out when we were down there, but that's my bad. So
Yeah, she's just learning. She's getting her feet up.
by all means, that's a great example, though, because when you go pro, honestly, you're on your own. So think about it. And I mean, Bolt makes enough money where he's the big enough deal. He's not coaching in college. He's always there. His coach is always there, so he never breaks routine. When you go by yourself and there's no coach there, your support system isn't there, what are you going to do? I mean, having your security blanket, that's a big deal. So once again, you have to find a routine that you're comfortable with. You have to find some friends or your agent or whoever the case may be. Sometimes there's nobody. So what are you going to do? That's when you kind of have to fall back on, all right, look, I don't need these people here. At the end of the day, when I'm on the track, they're not there with me. And I can tell you right now, one thing that really worked for me, I was with my coach so long, we had a really good relationship. The coach I had and I ran the fastest with, I mean, I could tell you the workouts that we were going to do before he even showed up. So I didn't know that I could do that. I didn't know I had that ability, but like I didn't need my coach at every single meet to be successful. Now, would I have preferred for him to be there? You dang right, without a doubt. I mean, but at the end of the day, it's what do you have the ability to do in the worst scenario, in the worst possible scenario? If you can't flourish in that, if you can't be successful in that, at some point you either have to grow or you have to figure out something. You have to make you need to go hit the lotto so you can pay your coach enough to where he can quit his college job and be with you everywhere you want to go. I don't think you have a problem. Right. So there's times when I've done things right. There's times when I've done things wrong. Like I said, I'm really close friends with Usain Bolt. So I'll give you 2 stories really quick on that just to keep you all entertained. So the first story this was 2007 before Bolt really got big. So I had beat him 11 times in a row. Like Bolt he literally never beat me. So I looked at him like baby brother and mentored him like baby brother. One race, I fell asleep. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I didn't listen to my own advice. I fell asleep. And I couldn't tell you what time it was, but I was asleep and I felt somebody standing over me. So as I opened my eyes, there's a big 6'7" Jamaican standing over me and he slapped the shit out of me. Bro, what the heck are you doing? He's like, the race, we got final calls in 15 minutes. I was like, bro, you just waking me up now? He's like, I didn't know where you were. I saw you over here with a hat on your face. I was like, man, I'm gonna kick your butt for that. You know, it's over with now. Even warming up. I ran 20:07. He ran 20:08. I beat him. He is still pissed off about that story to this day. Like I give him crap all the time. He's like, I should let you start the race. Like you cost me money. That's bull crap.
He tried to set you up.
He did try to set me up, but it didn't. But at the end of the day, like when you're on, sometimes when you're on, you just on. It does not work out well at all. And the second story I'll tell you, so 2009 at World Champs, after Bolt breaks the world record in Beijing and does all this crazy stuff. Once again, I went to the same mindset. Like, I don't care what you did. I know you just ran 9.58, but you still got to beat me today. I'm not playing with you. He's like, oh, man, I like that. That's why I like competing with you. He's like, you always bring the best out of me. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So the reporter walks up as we're walking out onto the track, and he said, I don't even know how he got there because he wasn't supposed to be there. But he said, Usain, I heard you said you're gonna try to break the world record. Is that true? And he said, I didn't say that. And I'm sitting there like, I know him. So the reporter walks away, and I was like, hey, bro, you didn't say you're not trying to break the world record. He was like, I said, nah. You and I are friends. I was like, don't have me out here trying to pull my hamstrings chasing you. You trying to run. Like, don't do me like that. And he's like, man, my only advice to you, bro, is run your own race. I said, what the heck does that mean? He said, run your own race. I was like, oh, okay. All right. Challenge accepted. So I don't know if you can find it, but if you find the full race from 2009, you're allowed 2 false starts. So on the first, they call star mark. On your mark, they said, wow, they shoot the gun. I'm talking about best start I ever had in my whole life, and I am not known for my starts. Bolt's in like lane 4. I think I'm in 3. I catch him. I'm going by him. I know you don't believe it, but trust me, go watch it. They shoot the gun. Pow, pow, false start. I'm like, oh, my God. Like, really? Are you serious? So I go by him. I have to walk back by him to get back to our blocks. And he looks at me and he says, hey, bro, you was catching me. I said, man, I ain't come here to lose. I told you better bring it. And he said, okay, all right. They call us to our marks again. Runners take your mark. He does this crap. Now, I'm not from the islands. I didn't know what that meant. But my coach is in the stands. And they said, runners take your mark. So I get in my blocks and I hear my coach, my name, Wallace. And I looked up and I was like, what? He said, run for second. I said, what? He's like, run for second. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you're with me every day. You've seen some of the stuff I've done. You know what I'm capable of. And you're supposed to believe in me. You told me run for second? Man, I was pissed. They shoot the gun. Wow. Come on my drive phase, and I look up, and Bolt's like at 150, and I'm only like 10 meters into this race. I just stopped, and I looked like, what in the heck is going on? I literally stopped running and just started watching him. And the guy on the inside of me passed me, and I was like, oh, I'm in this race. I got to run. So Bolt runs 1919. I ran, like I said, I ran 1985 and got third. By the time I crossed the line, I'm dipping at the finish line. Dudes on the backstretch, like dancing. I'm like, what? All right. So we go through the mix zone. We go through drug testing. We go through all the stuff. And I walk back to the practice track where my coach is at. And I'm like, Coach, what was that? He's like, like, he's about to take off like a plane. I was like, what? He's like, and I told you run for second. I was like, dude, I thought I heard you say that. Oh, you're fired. It's over. I can't work with you anymore. So just a quick story. So, like I said, you can work hard as you want. Sometimes when you're on your own, and some days it's just not your day. But I figured I'd share some of these stories with you. And like, you'll have a lot of experiences whenever you all go on the circuit. You'll learn a lot. You'll get to, do a lot. One thing I'll tell you all, if you do go pro, always conduct yourself as a professional. I mean, boyfriend, girlfriend drama or whatever y'all doing, like, leave that at home. If you have family problems, by all means, do your best to try to keep that, within your circle. If you have a sports psych or someone you talk to, use them. But everybody just needs to know your business. And when you are at the meet, when you finish with the meet, find the meet director and walk up to that person personally and tell them, thank you for inviting me. I mean, think about it. If I gave you a chance to speak to LeBron James, you go and take it. Well, some of these people aren't necessarily LeBron James, but they're the people that employ LeBron James. So I would much rather meet the owner than a player. What I'll tell you about that is you are more inclined to do a favor for someone you know than a complete stranger. So if you walk up and introduce yourself next year when they're looking at the list of athletes they want to invite, if they know you, they know your face, they know what you're about, they're going to help you out a lot more than just a random name they've seen on the start list. So you may think, oh, well, if I'm world number 1, they have to invite me. They don't. And that's the one thing about these sporting events. They can invite whoever they want to invite. And when you all start to go pro, you might look at start lists and figure out, how is this person on the start list? They're horrible. It's favoritism. And honestly, there's no way around it. It's favoritism. Sometimes it's financial reasons. You might have an athlete who doesn't want to compete, or they want to compete, but they're not getting what they think they're worth, and they're not willing to take less money, so they don't go. And that's a game that people play. Like Diamond League finals right now, you could be winning the Diamond League, and your appearance fee, like my appearance fee whenever I was running, so I got $30,000 to show up, just to attract me, just to show up, $30,000 before I stepped foot on the track. I can tell you right now, I've seen his contracts. Bolt was getting $750,000 just to show up to a race. So, I mean, you make more money before you step on the track rather than while you're actually competing. You make $750 to step on the track, and first place is only 10 grand. So he doesn't even care if he wins. I mean, of course he cares, but financially he doesn't. For me, of course I do. So go and speak to these meet directors. Go and tell them hello. Go and tell them thank you for the opportunity. I mean, go have conversations with these people. Network. That's the thing that's going to get you where you want to be. And at the end of the day, I know people right now who still get invited to track meets, not necessarily to run, just to go because they have such a good time with the meet directors. Nick Simmons he gets invited to the Zurich meet just to go fishing with the meet director because he likes hanging out with them. So these are things that, I mean, can't necessarily be taught. I mean, they can, but they can't. Just being a good person, going and saying hello, go speak to kids, go sign autographs, go above and beyond. People see that and they remember that. That's something that'll make you, very popular in the sport. So I think I've said a lot. And once again, if there are questions,
we got a few more questions, I think. Jacory, you got one?
Yeah, I got one. So what advice or points would your older, wiser self give to your collegiate self?
My collegiate self? All right. So I did a lot of positive things in college, but one thing where I feel like I could have done better, I let a lot of outside distractions kind of change the way that I treated myself. So I had Tyson Gay, who was at that point he was a senior, and I was a freshman or sophomore. He was a junior, I was a freshman, sophomore, senior. So he's 2 years ahead of me. And one thing he always asked, like, why do you always work so hard? Well, after a while, I saw how successful Tyson was, and we trained completely different. So I go out there and bust my butt. Tyson was just like God-given talented. And I said I wanted to run these times. I wanted to do these things. I knew I had to work there. I knew there was a price in order to do it. I saw other people doing less and getting the same results, and I thought that was okay. So if I could give myself advice, it would be I don't need to listen. Even my teammates would say, I tell them, like, I'm going to run 9.8. And I can tell you right now, my coach was Lance Brauman. And at the time, he said, you can't run 9.8 clean. Nobody can run that fast clean. But it's not everyone's goal to believe in you. It's not everyone's job to believe in you. It's your job. If you want something bad enough, you'll figure out how to do it. I believe that you could run 9.8 clean. I believed at some point someone could run faster than 19.32. I believed a lot, but I let so many distractions and so many people get in the way of what I believed that I started to believe what they believe. So I think I should have stayed a lot more mentally strong, but for me, there were so many people telling me that I couldn't do something. I let them kind of get into my head that, I mean, that would be one thing that I could really change. But it's really hard to tell someone who's 18, 19, you are bigger than what you're doing right now. And although these people are experts or supposed to be experts in the sport, just because they believe something doesn't make it true. So that'd be the advice I gave myself.
So believe in self.
Always.
Yeah, I got a question too. So, what would you say would be your biggest challenge, coming up as a track and field athlete?
Right now or then?
Then, like what you've gone through.
What was my biggest challenge? Honestly, that's tough because, like I said, it seemed like everything just fell in line for me. Honestly, consistency. That's one of the biggest things. Like I said, every time you step on the track, people want you to go out and break world records. And I remember my first year out, 2005, I ran 1982, which was a huge PR for me. And I went to world championships, and a lot of the guys, and that's a whole nother conversation that probably should be had in the courtroom, but a lot of guys got a little physical with some of the younger guys. I got intimidated, and I think I ran like 2020. And I could run 2020 with my eyes closed at that point. Like, that wasn't necessarily fast for me. So consistency. Like, it doesn't matter who you're racing. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, go through your routines, go through your habits, and try to make sure you're able to do the same things over and over. If I was running 19.8 on the bad day, Justin Gatlin, I think he ran with like 20.06. When I watch that race right now, I get sick to my stomach because I'm like, you should have won. But you let yourself get distracted. But those are things that I had to learn. Like, I had to learn how to be a professional. I had to learn how to be an adult. I had to learn how to be mature. I had to learn how to take care of myself and find structure, overseas. I'd done all this stuff in college, and that was easy because I had my support system, I had my routine, I had everything. I had to relearn everything. So just kind of retraining myself, like I said, being consistent, that was one of my biggest challenges. But once I got it dialed in, I think the next year I ran sub 20, I think like 7 times in a row. I mean, I had a great year. I ran sub 10. Things just started snapping. It was great. So you just have to, you have to find your niche. You have to find what works for you. And once you do, don't be complacent. Once you find out what works for you, still continue to build and find more. Even if you win a gold medal, it's not about one gold medal. It's about the next gold medal. It's about the next championship. The way sponsors work, you might sign a 5-year deal. The only year that matters to them is that year. So you might win the gold. 2021, you might win the Olympics. 2022, you might win world champs. 2023, world champs. 2024, you might win Olympics. 2025, your contract's up, and typically your sponsors will give you a 5-year deal. You might not even make you might get hurt and might not make the championship. They don't care about what you did those other 4 years. It's about what you did that year. So that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of stress. But at the end of the day, it's about being consistent. That's why you always have to make sure you take care of yourself on and off the track. You're eating right. It's just consistency. Like, what it takes. It's about doing it. Sometimes it gets boring, but if it's what you want to do, that's the price. You got to pay it.
Can you take us through like a meet day from when you wake up until the meet?
For sure. So when in college, once again, it's completely different. And I'm sorry.
I would say in your professional career, just since you sort of have it all already, thought out.
Okay, for sure. So the young lady who went to U20s, you all can probably ask her about this. So any international team, especially for Team USA, you guys are going to have, a list of coaches. Actually, things are about to change right now. So you're going to have each discipline has a coach. There'll be massage therapists there. You have nutritionists there, sports psychs. Most likely you're going to have a roommate unless you've won a medal in the last championship. Then you get your own room. So with saying all that, like, I wake up, hopefully my roommate's awake. If he's not, I'm sitting there being quiet, or I'm going in the hall. You go to the big cafeteria, you're grabbing breakfast. You can't necessarily go to the track whenever you want because they'll have a bus schedule and the track will be open for a certain amount of hours. So let's say hypothetically I raced at 3 o'clock. I'm waking up at 7 o'clock. I'm going to eat breakfast. I might get work done. So you have to go up to a sign-up sheet for all the treatments that you want. If you want chiropractor, ice bath, there's a wait list to sign up with. So you're signing up for all that. You might get that done. The bus might leave at 8:30. Then they'll have another bus schedule for whenever you want to come back. They'll have a massage therapist when you're out there. So I'm going through my warm-up. If I feel anything, I'm jumping on the table. There's a line. Jumping on the table. I knock out my shakeout. Jump on the table again. Catching the bus back. Hopefully lunch is open. So I'm going to lunch at that point. I'll have a little bit of downtime. If the competition is at 3, most likely they're making you leave 2 hours before your competition. And that process, it's a pain in the butt. I'm grabbing lunch, I'm laying down, I'm watching videos, or playing video games. Maybe I'm FaceTiming someone, just doing things to relax my mind. I don't want to be thinking about my competition too much. So now it's time to leave. And international teams versus like a Diamond League meet is completely different. International, you have to go downstairs and they treat you like a child. And they say, let me see both of your shoes. I want to see both of your regular shoes. You have to show them to them. I want to see both of your spikes. You have to show them to them. I want to see your bibs. You have to show them all your bibs. I want to see your uniforms. I want to see your backup uniform. What kind of electronics do you have? So you're going through a whole checklist, and they're making sure that you don't leave anything. Once you get to the track, there's a million people on the track warming up because you have to think everyone's there to compete. Going through the same process again. I'm finding medical. I'm making sure they know I'm there. There's a person designated to make sure you're at the check-in area on time if you're a championship. If not, you're on your own. You just have to figure it out. Walk up and ask them, when's the final call? When do I need to be over here? Okay, I'm here, I'm checking in. When's the final call? So you have to make sure you're there. At the Olympic Games, you have to show up an hour and a half before your race. So they literally have you in the call room for an hour prior to your competition. It is not fun. So, I mean, some of those competitions, you have to be there 3 hours in advance. So now you're going through this whole process. You're going through your warm-up. Championship, you're showing up anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour early. Whenever you walk into the call room, they're going over the same thing. Let me see your shoes. Let me see your bib. Let me see your spikes, your uniform. Like right now, this isn't team issue. So if I go to a competition and I wear this headband and Team USA didn't give it to me, I'm disqualified from the race. So they are very particular in the things that you can have and don't have. You go through your race, and all of a sudden you're going through drug testing, you're going through media. They're asking you questions, stuff that you don't even know about. I mean, I think the weirdest thing I ever asked in the mix zone was, how do you feel about the Chinese protests? I was like, I don't even know about the Chinese protests. Like, you're in China and you don't know about the protests? It didn't go over well. So, I mean, sometimes you're expected to know things that you don't even know. So now you finish that, you cool down. If there's another round the next day, you go back, you jump on the table, and I mean, you go through the same thing over and over again. If you're at a Diamond League meet, typically you're on an airplane. Well, the schedule's a little different now. There's big meets. So there's like an A circuit, which are the Diamond Leagues. Those are meets that you probably know about. And then there's a B circuit, and those are meets where you go typically just to make money. But when you go overseas, like if you're competing a lot, unless you have a huge contract, you're probably on the A and the B circuit. So you're on a plane every 3 days. So every 3 days, you're going to a different country running. Unless you talk to your coach, and your coach wants you to sit down for a little bit or not compete. So then if that's the case, you're either paying for a hotel, you're going to a training camp, or, I mean, if you're good enough, then the meet directors will bring you in and fly you and keep you there until the next meet starts. That is only for a select few. So it's a lot of travel. You're living out of suitcase. I think the longest I've been to Europe and competed was 4 months. Like, I don't like to come home. So, I mean, I went in June and didn't come home until October. So, I mean, it's what you make it. If you're someone who likes to come home, which is really hard on your body, and you have to be able to handle jet lag really well, I mean, you can go and come and go and come, but you're averaging. I'm on my. I went professional in 2005. I've got a passport and then the extra pages, so I'm on my 4th passport. I left 2007. I left Japan at 7 a.m. and I got back to the U.S. at 7 a.m. So I watched the sun rise twice in one day on the same day. So I mean, you are consistently on a plane, and I mean that's just the life you live.
So when you're over there for 4 months, you said, I mean, how does housing work? Like, do you have to go find housing yourself, or how does all that stuff work?
Your agent. It's your agent. It's going to be the one who takes care of everything. So my agent has a group, and we can get into that if you all like. That's a whole nother scenario. That's a whole nother topic. But my agent had a group. There was a girl, she got hurt, but she had booked an apartment for the whole summer. So she used some of it. I think I had to pay like $10,000 for this apartment for 3 months. But I mean, I ended up making more money, but it was because I had a place to lay my head and call home. I made that home. I cooked there. I did groceries. But if you don't have that, then if you're in the tier system in USA, they have a training camp in Leuven, and you'll go there. But you're basically staying in like the worst dorm rooms ever created, ever.
Oh man,
seriously, no joke. It's I can't even fit in the showers. I think these dorms were built in like 1914. Like it was pretty bad. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're paying like, I think it's like $60 a week. So you'll have to either find a hotel or find a house, Airbnb, whatever you want to find, but you'll have to provide your own housing while you're over there.
Good question.
How do you deal with the expectations, and how does that work with you just day in and day out, knowing that, especially as a professional, that like you're feeding yourself and your family and all of that is off of just how you perform?
When things are going really well, honestly, you don't think about it. It just comes natural. So that is a very good question. I grew up in my family. I was on free lunch from kindergarten. I mean, I was on full Pell Grant in college. And like I said, I was a walk-on. So my mom told me I had 1 year. Like I can pay for your school for 1 year. If you don't earn a scholarship after that, like you're going to the military. So I guess I've always had such high expectations that for me, it was just normal. Like I always expected myself to do well.
Your expectations were higher than everybody else's, you say?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I came from a single household. I have 4 brothers and 1 sister. So like, you either go find some food and you go eat, or you go to bed hungry. I remember my mom told me one day, I was like, Mom, I'm hungry. She was like, if you eat some sleep, you won't be hungry. What the hell does that mean? So like for me, literally, it was, I mean, every day I had something to prove. Like I had to have something that I had to get done. There were no relaxed days. And after so long, I just became accustomed to it. After a while, whenever I started having first contract I signed, 5 years, $400,000 a year with Nike. After that contract was over, I definitely had a lot of stress and burdens because I didn't know where my next check was going to come from. I ended up signing with Saucony. I think that was a weird contract, but like I was able to provide for my family. And towards the end of that contract, once again, I was going through the same financial burdens. And that's really where you don't want to be as an athlete, is worrying about how you're going to provide. So you're going to have 1 million people. If you say you do sign a large deal, you're going to have a lot of people that come out of the woodworks and they're going to ask for things. Your best bet is not necessarily to give people money, but give them an opportunity to have a career. So LeBron James did it very well. He didn't give his friends and family money. He gave them jobs, and he paid for their school. So at the end of the day, I'm going to give you a way to earn some money. If you don't want that, that's not what you want, and you don't want my help. So for me, I did it wrong. I gave my family money, and that only created, this system of people depending on me, and that's not necessarily what you want. I mean, you depend on yourself enough to do the things that you want to do. But as far as expectations on the track, like you try your best not to think about those things. And whenever you're doing well, it's fun. It's a game. You don't really think about it. But when things are hard, you really have to find a way to separate, outside distractions and leave them as outside distractions. So when you get to the track, it's supposed to be your sanctuary. When you get there, if you just had a fight with your significant other, by all means, when you walk into the track, it needs to be done. When you walk into the track meet, it needs to be done. All that stuff needs to stop. And you all know, you're smart enough to know, if you know somebody you have, in a relationship, and you know that whenever you talk to them, it's going to lead to a fight, then you don't need to talk to them the day of a competition. Like, you're allowed to be selfish and distance yourself from that person. You have to do the things that are going to make you successful. And if you don't, somebody behind you wants to, or somebody next to you wants to, and they'll make those sacrifices. It's next man up, next woman up. So you just really have to figure it out. And it goes back to just, finding your routine. So dealing with that stress is hard. I'm not even gonna lie. You have to figure out a routine that makes you work. For me, it was just, I was extremely selfish with my time, but it worked. Now, I probably have some friends and some family right now. I mean, they know me, so I have some friends and some family right now that probably resent me for that. But I think if they were in my situation, they'd do the exact same thing.
Good stuff.
I mean, y'all are quiet. Y'all a quiet bunch, man.
Yeah, they turn the mics off. They just let you go. But
Coaches, they don't ask questions in practice.
they don't stop talking in practice.
Yeah, but that's how it's supposed to be, because at the end of the day, and I got in trouble for that whenever I was in college, I would ask questions. So my coach would tell us to do these workouts. I'd say, Coach, why are we doing this? Now, one thing I learned when I was young is there's a difference between questioning and asking questions. If you're questioning someone, number one, what grounds do you have to question someone? Now, everything that coaches tell you might not, you know what's right and what's wrong. If your coach tells you want you to jump off a bridge, by all means, y'all know that's wrong. But if your coach tells you want you to do a 400, then, I mean, you're well within your rights before or after practice to say, hey, Coach, why are we doing this? And if he can give you a legitimate reason, or he can give you some structure or some means behind why you're doing this, then you need to believe in him. You could be in the best situation in the world, but if you don't believe in it, it's not going to work for you. I've seen a lot of people in horrible situations, but they believed it worked, and they run extremely well. But that's that mental toughness that's going to get you where you want to go. So ask questions, record video. I mean, go over your technique, because at the end of the day, like I said, if you're in a meet and everybody is at the same, athletic ability, what are you doing better than they are to beat them? Or if someone has more athletic ability than you do, what are you doing to beat them? It's going to have to be something, because eventually you're going to get to a point where somebody's better than you. And how are you going to beat them? So ask questions, learn your craft. critique your teammates. I mean, that's something that we do. I help out with Arkansas right now, and one thing I do is I'll teach other girls, like, this is what it's supposed to look like. You need to find your closest form, closest form to perfect that you can get. So you need to be close to perfect as you can get, but you might not necessarily be there. And then the next thing we go over is like, okay, whenever someone else is going, I want you to watch. What did they do right? What did they do wrong? At the end of the day, if you can tell me what they did and what they did right and wrong, that's going to help you figure out what you need to do. So that's going to help build kinesthetic or proprioceptive awareness. So you're going to learn these things and figure out how to get them done. That's the next step. You have to learn your sport. That's going to make you better.
It sounds like being invested, to sum that up, is being invested in your own success.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're not, athletes, we like everybody to do stuff for us. I mean, they were supposed to call me and tell me when the massage appointment was. Coach was supposed to tell me, because when you turn pro, if you don't show up to practice, nobody cares. If you don't go to these meets and run and you don't win, whoever signed your contract, whoever you signed with, they will gladly take their money back and give it to somebody else. And if you all don't believe me, January 1st, 2021, I want you all to look at the news, and I want you all to see how many of these professional athletes lost 25% or more in their contracts. This pandemic has people going crazy. So a lot of people are going to be contract-less, they're going to be sponsor-less, and they're going to be in bad situations. So you need to make sure you are doing everything right above and beyond. Now is not necessarily the best time to go pro. Like I said, I'm the chair of your players union, and I was on the phone with ASICS for 3 hours yesterday, for Nike for 2.5 hours, Puma, or New Balance, the Mizuno, any sponsor you can name. I have to talk to these people and talk about contracts, opportunities, and everything else. So global marketing directors, conversations with Phil Knight and anybody else. Stay in school as long as you can right now. Any other time I would never tell you that, but stay in school as long as you can right now.
Going back to the investment part, I know for me as a coach, on the other side, when I see the athletes are more invested, then I give more. So it's like I can see that their level of expectation is higher of themselves. So reciprocated, that's the same for me. Then my work ethic goes up for them. And then people that, they don't really give it their all, or they don't ask questions, or you're not invested in any way, then I pretty much do the same with them, just to be honest, just because there's only so much information that's going to sink in if they're not invested. So there's no point in me, going the extra mile, because it's just not going to sink into what their body's going to accept or what their mind's going to accept. It's just pointless. So
at the end of the day, if you had money in stocks and you had one stock that was giving you, 200% return, what are you going to do? You're going to put more money into that, right?
And we all into that one.
Stock that is a black hole. You can put as much money as you want, and it's not going to give you any return. You're just burning money.
Exactly.
With people. At the end of the day, if I have an athlete who's willing to work, and honestly, I'm gonna tell you right now, like I've worked with, I don't know if Jada Baylark, I've worked with Kiera Parker and Peyton Stumbaugh, and I've worked with some people that y'all have never even heard of. And at the end of the day, like, don't get me wrong, I like working with them, and they're great people. But some of my favorite people to work with are athletes on our team who they're going to be home team specialists. They're never going on the practice meet. They're not going anywhere other than a home meet. And the reason why I enjoy working with them so much is they're the first people there. They ask all the questions, and they're the last people to leave. Can I do another one? Sure. Like, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And then you have some people that are so talented, like, I don't want to hear this. I'm like, well, then don't listen. You don't have to listen. Like, I'm a volunteer assistant. Volunteer. Like, I can volunteer my time or not. So at the end of the day, like I said, some of my favorite people to work with are quote unquote not so great in our sport, but they love it. And those people, they're going to be successful, whether it be on the track or off the track. Maybe they're an agent. Maybe they work for a shoe company, but I can tell you that they're going to be successful in life just based off how they carry themselves while we're at practice. So coaches are really right in that. Coaches have, whether y'all like it or not, the person who's going out there producing and doesn't give him headaches, the person that's asking questions and working with them, that's probably his favorite. The person he has to drag by the ear to go to practice and wake him up, and it's probably not so fun to work with, but you all wouldn't want to do that either. So that's just how you have to look at it.
Yeah. So when that work ethic and dedication meets talent, man, it's beauty.
For sure.
Very rare.
Xavier Carter, you all know who that is?
X-Man.
That is one of the most talented individuals I have ever seen in my entire life. I mean, he ran 10 flat, 1963, and 44.5 in 5 days.
Yep.
But his off the track life was, I think he's been to jail probably 27 times in his lifetime. So when he went to jail for the last time and he couldn't run anymore, this is really bad to say, but in my mind I was thinking, I'm really sad he's going to jail, but thank God I don't have to race him anymore. Jesus Christ, this dude is crazy. He beat Usain Bolt one day so bad. Like, Bolt still to this day, he won't admit it to you all, but to me, like, he's like, I still owe him for that. Like, I wish he came back. Like, I would come out of retirement to race him. I mean, the kid was talented, but he just couldn't get it together off the track. He couldn't do what he's supposed to be doing.
Terrible. We're going to wind down, Wallace. It's been an hour. Is there any more questions out there for anybody or from anybody?
Hey, question. So everything that's going on, how do you stay motivated and what in the morning and go like train every day?
So for me, I know that this is temporary. I'm in a lot of these conversations where a lot of these things are discussed, and I'll give you all some information that you're probably not supposed to know, but who cares? So the IOC. One thing right now that's being discussed is if they do have the game, it's going to have to be on a smaller scale. What does that mean for track and field? Well, typically we have 3 people per event, right? Well, next year at the games, there might only be 1 or 2 people per event. So your chances of making the team just got exponentially harder, and it's a lot less likely for you to make the team. So what does that mean for you? That means you need to be on your game right now. You're going to have the best year of your life to go out there and compete. I mean, depending on what event you're in, there's some dogs. There's some people ready to go out here. A lot of the pros, this is how they eat. A lot of the college kids, y'all can go out there and have fun. And a lot of you all are so talented that you can get it done regardless. So it's going to be a mixture of people that want to make this team. So at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're the one on that team. So whenever I wake up every morning, I have to remind myself that team is going to be hard to make next year. It's already the hardest team in the world to make, but next year it's going to be harder. So I need to make sure I'm doing everything right, because at the end of the day, one thing I don't want to do is walk away from the sport with regrets. You know, I could have done this. I should have done that. My coach called them IMOs. Y'all ever heard of that? You know what an IMO is? Neither did I. So you ever heard someone say, I'm gonna win the national championship. I'm gonna make the Olympic team. Coach called those IMOs. He said, Wallace, don't you be no goddamn IMO. I don't feel like hearing that crap today. Don't tell me what you're gonna do. I don't hear no. You go out there and do it. So that's like he's super old, but that's one thing that stuck with me. Like, don't be an IMO. I don't know how you spell that, but don't be it.
That's good stuff. Who was your coach while I was in college?
In college, John McDonald was the head coach, and Lance Brahman was the sprint coach. And I went and trained at A&M with Coach Henry and Francique. Then Nike told me I had to move or they were going to cut my contract, so I went with Monty Stratton, and now I'm back in Arkansas. So I've been around the U.S. training with people.
Good deal.
All good.
Any more questions, y'all?
Better ask.
Yep.
No time to do it. No silly question.
Cool, man. T?
Wait, you said you were a long jumper. Why did you start jumping?
So Dick Booth was my long jump coach. I jumped 25-10 my freshman year, my first meet actually. And Lance Brahman was also a long jump coach. So there were these big debates. It was a lot of male egos got in the way of me being a jumper. But they told me that I had to choose if I wanted to sprint or jump, but I couldn't do both because they weren't going to allow Lance Brahman to coach me in long jump. So I actually got recruited by Dick Booth, but I chose sprints. And that's what happened.
And that's history.
Yep. I made 2 Olympic teams, so I think I did all right. So
yeah, Dick.
I do this long jump. Long jump is fun as heck, and they talk the most crap. I've seen some things. I've seen some fights in the long jump runaway, but it was amazing.
Yeah, it reminds me of some people. I know.
Walt Davis was the greatest long jumper. Talk trash.
Isaac.
Yeah, we ain't heard from you, Isaac.
Oh, he talks trash? Isaac talks trash?
Nah, I don't talk no trash.
Yeah, I don't
Why are you lying? Why are you lying?
You say
I
what?
don't know what you talking about.
Isaac be lying. He be talking all the trash.
What do you say? What, give me the.
Isaac be telling me that he can beat me in Povo.
Wait, what? Why would you do that?
That's
Isaac
cap.
tells me that he can beat me in
That's
Povo.
cap. That's cap.
Yeah,
You be
heard,
saying
You're such a
you could beat me in
liar.
long jump.
I know plenty of sprinters who think Bolt at one point thought he could jump 27 feet. So you just tell them to stay in their lane. So I'm going to stay in my lane. But I saw Walter Davis, this guy in the warm-ups, he goes in Walter Davis's lane. He bumps him. Walter's like, man, what you doing, man? There's 8 lanes out here. Move. Like, this is my track. I said, okay, so there's a competition on Walter's last jump, triple jump. He goes down the runway. Boom, boom, boom. Like 50, I think it was like 58.6, first place. He grabs the sand, he walks back to the guy and throws it in his face, and he looks at his clock and he's like, it's my time. Get off my track. And I remember walking out there and I was like, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Long jump, triple jump. I love it.
cool. Anybody else? We'll let you.
Keep talking trash. Keep talking trash. Don't let them hurt you. Just don't do it by the camera. Like you don't want that. But do games you can play. Like you can get in their head and make. Like Muhammad Ali did it. They hated him while he was doing it, but they loved him when he retired. So I like it.
Isaac, you got a question?
Huh?
So you got a question?
No, he answered it off of Jacory's question.
Okay. All right, y'all.
I'm around, and if y'all go pro, I'll most likely be a chair, so you'll be hearing a lot from me. I'll be getting on your nerves, sending y'all emails about free money. So make sure you check your emails.
Yeah, Wallace works with USATF. He has a lot of responsibilities, but he's a team coach. Like he's there with T in Costa Rica.
The juniors, the junior relay coach. So I've been the junior coach for 3 years. We broke 3 world. I've had 4 teams. We broke 3 world records out of 4 teams. We should have broke 4 world records, but I can't even think of the dude. I want to forget his name. What's his name? Something good. Elijah Godwin. Oh my God. He dropped the stick in the 4x4, and then when I asked him why did he drop the stick, he said I was so tired I didn't want anymore, so I just dropped it.
Wow.
So, y'all know I'm giving crap.
That's crazy.
They had to pull me away from him. I was upset, and I don't usually ever get mad, but yeah, that had me upset.
Well, hopefully we'll have some jumpers there on your team, whatever team you're on this year. I'm sure we will. We got a loaded squad this year, and we're super excited. But what we want to do is, we're glad that you were here today, and what we want to do is later on, maybe late fall or early spring, invite you back. Let everybody speak to you, and you speak to them about what they're going through with practice and season and stuff like that, and just check in, see how everybody's taking your advice and using it and applying it to their everyday life or practice or mindset and competition. And
I'd like to hear some stories from you all as well about some of the biggest problems that you feel like you're going through, or some of the adversity or some of the challenges. So maybe one day I can get on here and listen to you all speak, and maybe we can talk about some of your problems. So,
yep, for real. That'd be good.
All right.
Wallace, we appreciate you, man.
Anytime.
Really appreciate you being here for an hour, and we'll be catching up with you soon. And
good.
Yeah, thanks again, man.
Good luck. Y'all work hard. Hard work and work. Say hard work or work hard. That's your choices if you want to make it. So get it done.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Later.
All right, thanks, bud. Take care.
Good.